plate. You gotta eat. Skin and bones. I said eat!
Hello you petrified potatoes, and welcome to my review of The Evil Within 2. Now I'm just going to say it straight away, I love this game. The atmosphere to it, the enemies, the characters, the story itself, I enjoy pretty much every part of this game, and before I even say anything, yes, I do recommend it. But I will go into detail as to why I like it so much. Firstly, it feels like the direction that Resident Evil 4 should have gone instead of going into Resident Evil 5, and that is they kind of doubled down on the bizarre enemies but kept that same weird feeling. It just captures that essence of what made Resident Evil 4 so good and just expands on it even further. Just watching how the enemies move and how they interact is just so funny and just so absorbing at the same time, because you just can't help but just watch their every motion like you're stalking them, only for them to spin around, see you, and then just start charging at you. And while I'm speaking on the enemies, the main ones, the bosses, are so much fun. I love the different strategies you have to take on when it comes to the different bosses, especially the later stage ones. I also like the different designs they all have. They all feel unique, but all feel connected, even though they do feel very separate from each other. And just the satisfaction you get from when you do defeat those bosses. It's been one of the best boss games I've played for a while. And I've played this game so many times, and I've played so many other games since the last time I played this game, but it just feels so satisfying. They really have captured the boss fights in such a beautiful little jar, a nice container, and it just makes them feel so good when you defeat them. And the characters themselves, not just Sebastian who you control, or just Kidman who's on your side, or is she, but the actual bosses, even though they are clearly evil, sinister and twisted, you just can't help but go, okay, they're charismatic. You got to like them. There's only one or two characters which I could agree with you with to go, okay, they're really annoying. Some of them are supposed to be that way because you don't really want to have the good connection because they're just not good people. But for the majority of those characters, you just can't help but like. And watching the story unfold by how you interact with the characters and find new information about what is actually going on in this world, again, it's just a very satisfying game throughout when it comes to, they did it, or oh, that's what happened, or oh, I was right this whole time. You just get those little moments throughout the plot. And actually getting onto the gameplay side of things, you can choose whether you want to be in first or third person throughout the game. I like to go in third person for this just because the combat is so satisfying and it just feels so much better when you're in first person. For me, you really feel the punch of the weapons and the heaviness and the impact they have in first person. And while for the combat the melee is a little bit slow, again, it really does have that heavy impact, like you're really making contact with your enemies. So it just gives you that extra bit of enjoyment when it comes to hitting them. And again, because this is a survival horror game, even though the combat feels incredible, ammo is still limited. So you will need to go out of your way sometimes if you just want to go guns blazing, or if you just want to be stealthy and insta-kill them, you can do that and just save ammo that way. There are many ways that you can kind of play this game. It's not really like, okay, you have to do this. If you want to just go guns blazing, you can do that, but you do need to go search for some more ammo. But if you want to be more sensible and go in stealthy and just save as much as you want, you can do that. And the last thing I'll say is there's so many things to upgrade, not just for your weapons and getting all different damage bonuses. You can also just improve yourself, so different abilities you can do, how much you can sense around you. There's so many different ways which you can just slam those green oozy gels into your brain and improve your character. And while I have been gushing about how much I enjoy this game, there are a couple of issues which I would like to see changed or just definitely improved on it if there is going to be an Evil Within 3. First thing, there's still texture popping, and it's nowhere near as bad as the original game, but there is just especially when you're going into the cutscenes, it's just, you can literally see it all just loading in before your eyes. It doesn't matter how high the resolution is, how high the filtering is, any of those special effects, there's always just this texture popping when it comes to the cutscenes. And while you do get to upgrade your weapons, I would have loved to have seen them go a bit more in detail with that by adding like different fire modes potentially, whether it's like burst fire, or you can just get your fully automatic weapons single fire instead of just having to tap them, or if they added elements or different abilities like piercing abilities, or some weird and wonderful things like they can ricochet or stun enemies and stuff. I would love to see them go way more in depth with that. So as you've guessed, and as I've already said, I definitely recommend Evil Within 2. You really should go play it. There's plenty of side quests to do, but just play it for the bosses and for the story itself. It really is worth giving this game a try if you haven't already, especially if you love those Resident Evil games. Plus there's a cute cat. What more do you want?